Yuki Tsunoda's weekend at the Imola Grand Prix turned out to be a complete disaster, and now the consequences of that are starting to show. What happened during that race weekend wasn't just a bad result or a small mistake. It was something that could actually change the course of Tsunoda's entire Formula One career. The crash he suffered in qualifying didn't just destroy his car, it also left Red Bull with a long list of problems: technical, financial, and strategic. And in a sport as competitive and fast-moving as Formula One, that kind of mistake can be the beginning of the end for a driver. The qualifying crash was one of the biggest stories of the Imola weekend. Yuki lost control of the car and crashed heavily, leaving the RB21 in pieces. That accident didn't just end his chance of a good starting position for the race. It also triggered a series of problems that affected the whole team. The damage was so bad that Red Bull's mechanics had to build a completely new chassis. But they didn't have enough parts available for the exact same car specification, so they had to put together a car using parts from different specifications. That's a serious problem in Formula One, because it immediately breaks the parc fermé rules. As a result, Yuki had to start the race from the pit lane. In Formula One, starting from the pit lane is one of the worst things that can happen to a driver. Grid position is extremely important, and starting from the pit lane means you're immediately at the back of the field with no real chance of competing at the front. Even though Yuki managed to climb up to finish in 10th place and score a point, it didn't erase the chaos of the weekend. The team had already lost too much. Adding to the problem, Red Bull had to replace almost every single part of Tsunoda's power unit. They installed a new engine, turbo, MGU-H, MGU-K, battery control, electronics and exhaust system. While all of this was still within his seasonal allocation, it clearly wasn't part of the plan. It's not the kind of maintenance any team wants to do during a race weekend. And when you consider the financial limits set by the budget cap, these repairs hurt even more. Helmut Marko, the senior advisor at Red Bull, didn't try to hide how serious the situation had become. He admitted that while the team was happy, Yuki walked away from the crash without any injury. The damage to the team's budget and race strategy was massive. Marko called it a huge setback, pointing out that this was the third race in a row where something had gone wrong. And with the Monaco Grand Prix coming up, a track where even small mistakes are punished with big crashes, Red Bull now finds itself in a very vulnerable position. The team's spare part situation is already fragile. The crash at Imola just made things worse. According to Marko, they are now stretched so thin that every crash is becoming a serious threat to their entire race program. This isn't just about one weekend or one crash anymore. It's about how the team's resources are being spent. And in a year when Max Verstappen is deep in the fight for another world championship, Red Bull needs to make every penny count. One of the biggest problems with the Imola crash is the money it cost the team. Formula One is not just about racing, it's also a business. The budget cap means every team has to be careful about how much money they spend. If too much is spent on repairing crashed cars, there's less money left for upgrades, development, and race strategy. In this case, Red Bull had to take money from their 2026 development budget just to cover the damage from Tsunoda's crash. That means money meant for the future is now being used to fix the past. And that's a dangerous path. Max Verstappen's championship hopes rely on having a fast, reliable car and a team that is completely focused. Any distraction, even if it's happening in the junior team, can hurt the entire Red Bull system. The team needs to make sure that every driver is bringing home the car safely and scoring points. Tsunoda's crash did the opposite. It cost money, time, and focus. It also raised serious questions about whether he can be trusted to help support the team's goals moving forward. This isn't the first time Tsunoda has had issues this season. Just before Imola, he had another major incident in Jeddah. That makes two serious crashes in a very short amount of time. And in Formula One, teams don't have a lot of patience. Mistakes add up quickly, and they can easily cost a driver his seat. Tsunoda is now under more pressure than ever. He knows the situation is serious, and he knows he's running out of chances. There are already whispers about a possible mid-season replacement. Red Bull is known for making quick decisions when it comes to driver changes. If the management feels that a driver is no longer helping the team or is becoming a liability, they are not afraid to make bold moves. Right now, people inside and outside the team are starting to ask the same question. Is it time to replace Yuki Tsunoda? There are plenty of young drivers waiting for a chance. Isaac Hajar is one of the names being mentioned more and more. He's shown strong performances, stayed out of trouble, and even scored points. At Imola, Hajar started 9th and finished 9th. It was a clean and solid drive. He kept his cool, made smart decisions during the virtual safety car, and avoided mistakes. That's exactly what Red Bull wants to see in a young driver. In fact, Hajar finished ahead of Tsunoda at Imola. That's a big deal. It shows that he's not only ready for Formula One, but he might already be doing a better job than the driver he could replace. Jacques Villeneuve, a former world champion and now a commentator, didn't hold back when talking about the situation. He pointed out that Hajar is starting to look like a serious replacement for Tsunoda. According to Villeneuve, Tsunoda isn't just making mistakes, he's losing time and losing ground to the next generation of talent. What makes Hajar even more appealing is his consistency. He's not crashing, he's bringing the car home, he's scoring points, and in today's Formula One, that kind of driver is very valuable. Every point matters in the Constructors' Championship. It's not just about glory, it's about real money. The higher a team finishes in the standings, the more prize money they receive. Hajar's good form could help Racing Bulls and Red Bull secure better results and more income. That makes him a valuable asset. And Hajar isn't the only one. Arvid Lindblad is another young talent waiting for a chance. Red Bull has always had a strong driver program, and they've never been short on talent. With drivers like Hajar and Lindblad showing strong performances, the pressure on Tsunoda increases. The team knows they have options, and those options are getting better with each race. Even though Tsunoda took responsibility for the crash and admitted that he made a stupid mistake by pushing too hard without understanding the changes made to the car, that honesty won't be enough to save his seat. Formula One is a results-driven sport. You don't get to stay just because you admit your errors. You stay because you deliver. And right now, Tsunoda isn't delivering the way Red Bull needs. His 10th place finish at Imola looks like a recovery on paper, but context is everything. He only scored points because of the safety car. Without that stroke of luck, he might not have reached the top 10 at all. In comparison, Hajar scored his points through pure race performance. That difference matters, especially to a team like Red Bull that looks closely at every detail. Red Bull is not just thinking about this season. They're also thinking about the future. They need drivers who can perform consistently and help the team grow stronger over time. If Tsunoda keeps crashing and causing expensive problems, he's not going to be part of that future. It's not just about speed, it's about reliability, focus, and teamwork. Tsunoda's role at the team has often been helped by his strong connection with Honda, the engine supplier. That relationship has given him some extra protection in the past, but now even that might not be enough. Red Bull has to look at the bigger picture, especially when every cent counts under the cost.